The rain poured mercilessly, cascading down the glass windows of the bus as Lily Harper stared out, clutching a worn leather folder to her chest. Inside were the documents she had meticulously prepared for her job interview at Carter Enterprises. After months of endless rejections, this opportunity felt like a glimmer of hope in an otherwise bleak reality. The bus came to a screeching halt, jolting Lily out of her thoughts. She stepped out, her thrift store trench coat barely shielding her from the downpour. As she approached the towering glass building, Lily couldn't help but feel out of place. The imposing structure, gleaming even in the rain, symbolized success and opulence, everything her life currently lacked. Her shoes squelched with each step as she entered the grand lobby, trying to shake off the rain and her insecurities. The lobby was vast, with marble floors that reflected the ambient lighting, and bustling employees in sharp suits moved with purpose. While fumbling with her battered umbrella, Lily almost collided with someone. Looking up, she was met with a pair of intense gray eyes belonging to a tall man in a tailored suit. His hair was slightly damp, but he looked effortlessly composed, exuding authority and confidence. "Careful there," he said, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Big day." Embarrassed, Lily nodded. "Interview," she managed to mumble, trying not to let her nerves show. "Well, good luck," he said, his voice warm yet commanding. Without waiting for a response, he walked off toward the elevators, leaving Lily standing there, perplexed but oddly reassured. She had no idea that this brief encounter would be the beginning of something that would change her life forever. Lily was escorted to a sleek, modern conference room on the 25th floor. The walls were lined with glass, offering a breathtaking view of the rain-soaked city below. The nervous flutter in her stomach intensified as she waited, clutching her folder tightly. She glanced at the clock, each tick amplifying her anxiety. Just as she tried to calm herself with a deep breath, the door opened. To her astonishment, the man she had bumped into in the lobby entered the room. He looked even more imposing in this setting, his tailored suit fitting him perfectly, his presence commanding attention. "Good morning, Miss Harper," he said, extending his hand. "I'm Adrian Carter, CEO of Carter Enterprises. I'll be conducting your interview today." Lily's heart skipped a beat. Of course, he wasn't just some executive. He was the Adrian Carter, the man whose name was on the building, the man whose empire she was desperately hoping to join. Swallowing her nerves, she shook his hand firmly and sat down. The interview began formally enough, with Adrian asking her about her previous work experience and what motivated her to apply. Lily spoke honestly, recounting her years of struggle and the resilience she had built through hardship. She admitted that while she lacked the polished resume of some candidates, she made up for it with determination and an unyielding work ethic. Adrian listened intently, his sharp eyes focused on her, as if he were assessing not just her answers but her character. His questions were professional, but carried a warmth that surprised Lily. She found herself speaking more candidly than she had planned, sharing her vision for a better life and her aspirations to grow within the company. As the interview wrapped up, Adrian leaned back in his chair, his gaze unwavering. "You're refreshingly honest, Miss Harper," he said. "We'll be in touch soon." As she left the room, her heart still racing, their eyes met one last time. There was something in his expression, an intensity that both unsettled and intrigued her. For the first time in months, Lily felt a flicker of hope. Days turned into an agonizing week. Every morning, Lily checked her phone compulsively, hoping for a call from Carter Enterprises. Her tiny apartment felt even smaller as she waited, the peeling wallpaper and creaky floors a constant reminder of the life she was trying to leave behind. Bills piled up on her kitchen counter, and her landlord had started making not-so-subtle comments about her overdue rent. Lily tried to distract herself by picking up extra shifts at the diner where she worked part-time. The greasy smells, the clatter of plates, and the endless stream of demanding customers were exhausting, but they kept her mind occupied. Still, every time her phone buzzed, her heart leaped, only to sink when it was a telemarketer or a friend checking in. One evening, as Lily was slumped on her second-hand couch, staring blankly at a TV program she wasn't really watching, her phone rang. The screen displayed an unknown number. Her pulse quickened as she answered, her voice shaky. "Hello? Ms. Harper, this is Adrian Carter," came the deep, familiar voice on the other end. For a moment, Lily couldn't speak. Was this a rejection? Had she failed again? "I wanted to personally inform you that you've been selected for the position," Adrian continued, his tone firm yet kind. "Your determination and honesty left an impression, and I believe you'll be an asset to Carter Enterprises." Relief washed over Lily, and she felt tears prick her eyes. "Thank you so much, Mr. Carter," she managed to say, her voice thick with emotion. "You start Monday." "Welcome aboard," Adrian said before ending the call. For the first time in what felt like forever, Lily allowed herself to hope. She clutched her phone tightly, tears streaming down her face as she whispered, "This is my chance." Monday morning arrived with a crisp, clear sky, a stark contrast to the rainy day that had marked Lily's interview. She stood outside the Carter Enterprises building, her heart pounding, dressed in her best outfit, a simple navy blazer and skirt she had managed to find at a thrift store. She straightened her shoulders and walked inside. The atmosphere in the office was bustling but controlled. Polished floors reflected the soft glow of modern lighting, and the air hummed with quiet efficiency. Lily felt like she had stepped into another world, a world where success was palpable and expectations were high. She was introduced to her workspace by her direct supervisor, a meticulous woman named Evelyn Tate. Evelyn's stern demeanor made it clear that excellence was not just expected but required. "You'll be assisting with scheduling, correspondence, and project coordination," Evelyn explained. "Mr. Carter values precision, so you'll need to be sharp and adaptable." Lily nodded, determined to prove herself. She threw herself into her work, quickly adapting to the fast-paced environment. The systems were complex, the tasks demanding, but Lily's focus and resilience began to shine. By the end of her first week, she had already earned quiet praise from her peers for her dedication. Though Adrian Carter remained a distant figure, his presence was impossible to ignore. He was a natural leader, effortlessly commanding attention during meetings. Lily often caught glimpses of him through the glass walls of the boardroom, his sharp gaze scanning reports, his voice firm yet composed. Their paths crossed occasionally in the hallways or during team discussions. While their exchanges were brief and professional, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that his eyes lingered on her a moment longer than necessary. Despite the initial nerves, Lily began to feel a sense of belonging she hadn't expected. For the first time in years, she was part of something bigger, and she was determined to excel. Several weeks into her new role, Lily was surprised to find an invitation from Adrian Carter himself sitting on her desk. The note was simple yet formal. "Join me for dinner to discuss your progress. Friday at 7 p.m. The Blue Orchid." Her stomach flipped. The Blue Orchid was a high-end restaurant known for its exclusivity and refined atmosphere. Lily spent the rest of the week agonizing over the invitation, unsure whether it was strictly professional or something more. When Friday arrived, she chose a modest but elegant black dress, hoping to strike the right balance. The restaurant was as intimidating as she'd imagined, with crystal chandeliers casting soft light over tables draped in fine linen. Adrian was already seated, looking impossibly polished in a dark suit. He stood as she approached, a slight smile softening his otherwise stern expression. "Good evening, Lily," he greeted her, pulling out her chair. "Good evening, Mr. Carter," she replied, her voice steady despite her nerves. Their conversation began with work-related topics, her progress, upcoming projects, and areas for improvement. Adrian commended her for her dedication and adaptability, but as the evening wore on, the tone shifted. Adrian began to share more personal anecdotes, stories of his early struggles, the sacrifices he had made to build his empire, and the moments of doubt that had shaped him. Lily, in turn, opened up about her own challenges. She spoke of the long nights working multiple jobs, the sacrifices she had made to keep going, and her determination to change her circumstances. There was something about Adrian's demeanor, both commanding and unexpectedly vulnerable, that made her feel safe sharing her truth. As dessert arrived, the conversation grew more intimate. Adrian's gaze was steady, his eyes holding hers as they spoke. The tension between them was palpable, though unspoken. When the dinner concluded, Adrian walked her to the restaurant's entrance. Thank you for joining me tonight, he said, his voice softer than she'd heard it before. You have potential, Lily. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. His words lingered in her mind as she watched him disappear into the night, leaving her with a sense of hope and a confusing mix of emotions. The following week was filled with subtle yet undeniable tension. Adrian remained professional in all their interactions, but there was a shift in the air between them. Lily couldn't ignore the way his eyes seemed to follow her in meetings, or how her heart raced whenever he entered the room. She tried to focus on her work, but her thoughts often wandered to their dinner and the connection she felt growing between them. One afternoon, as Lily was sorting through files, she found a small note slipped into her inbox. The handwriting was unmistakably Adrian's. Meet me on the rooftop after work. Adrian. Her heart pounded as she read and reread the message. What could he possibly want to discuss that couldn't be said in the office? Curiosity and apprehension warred within her as she made her way to the rooftop that evening. The rooftop offered a stunning view of the city skyline, bathed in the golden hues of sunset. Adrian was already there, leaning against the railing, his jacket discarded and his sleeves rolled up. He looked up as she approached, his expression unreadable. Thank you for coming, he said, his voice low. What's this about, Mr. Carter? Lily asked, her nerves evident. He hesitated, running a hand through his hair, a rare gesture that hinted at his vulnerability. Lily, I need to be honest with you, he began. I've tried to maintain professional boundaries, but I find myself thinking about you more than I should. Lily's breath caught. She had suspected his feelings, but hearing them spoken aloud was overwhelming. I understand if this puts you in an uncomfortable position, Adrian continued, but I couldn't keep pretending. You deserve to know how I feel. For a moment, Lily was speechless. This complicates things, she admitted. You're my boss. What if? I respect you, Lily, Adrian interrupted gently. This isn't about power or position. It's about something I can't ignore. The sincerity in his voice was undeniable, but the weight of the situation pressed heavily on Lily. I need time to think, she finally said. Adrian nodded, his expression understanding yet hopeful. Take all the time you need. As Lily walked away, her emotions churned. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but one thing was certain. Her life at Carter Enterprises had taken a turn she never could have anticipated. The days following their rooftop conversation were marked by an unspoken tension that hung in the air whenever Lily and Adrian were in the same room. Lily threw herself into her work with renewed determination, hoping to distract herself from the whirlwind of emotions she was grappling with. She avoided lingering in hallways or meetings longer than necessary, but it was impossible to completely escape Adrian's presence. His sharp gray eyes seemed to find hers no matter the room, their gaze carrying a weight she couldn't ignore. Adrian, for his part, respected Lily's request for space. He refrained from any overt gestures, maintaining a strictly professional demeanor in public. Yet there were subtle moments, a fleeting glance, a soft smile, that hinted at the depth of his feelings. Their interactions, though limited, were charged with a tension that neither could deny. One evening, as Lily stayed late to complete a report, she heard footsteps approaching her desk. Looking up, she found Adrian standing there, his tie loosened and an expression of quiet exhaustion on his face. You're here late, he remarked, his voice low. So are you, Lily replied, keeping her tone neutral as she continued typing. May I? He asked, motioning to the chair opposite her desk. Lily hesitated before nodding. Adrian sat down, his usual air of authority softened by the dim lighting of the nearly empty office. I know I said I'd give you space, he began, his tone careful, but I couldn't leave tonight without checking on you. You've been working tirelessly, and I want you to know that your efforts haven't gone unnoticed. Lily looked up, surprised by his words. Thank you, she said quietly. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence was filled with an unspoken understanding, a shared acknowledgement of the emotions they were both trying to navigate. Take care of yourself, Lily, Adrian said finally, standing to leave. His words lingered long after he walked away, leaving Lily to wonder if her resolve to keep things professional was beginning to falter. As the weeks passed, their growing connection became harder to conceal. Adrian continued to respect Lily's boundaries, but their stolen moments, brief exchanges in the hallway, shared glances in meetings, did not go unnoticed by their colleagues. Whispers and speculation began to circulate, creating an undercurrent of tension within the office. At first, Lily tried to ignore the gossip, focusing on her work and refusing to let the rumors affect her. But the scrutiny became impossible to escape. One afternoon, during a team meeting, a senior employee made a pointed comment about Lily's supposed special treatment. Though the words were veiled in humor, the implication was clear, and the room grew uncomfortably quiet. Adrian's jaw tightened as he looked directly at the offender. If you have concerns about professionalism in this office, I suggest you address them appropriately rather than spreading baseless rumors, he said, his tone sharp and authoritative. The employee quickly backtracked, mumbling an apology, but the damage was done. After the meeting, Lily felt a mix of emotions, gratitude for Adrian's support and frustration at being the center of office gossip. That evening, she confronted Adrian in his office. "This is getting out of hand," she said, closing the door behind her. "The rumors, the comments, it's making things difficult for both of us." Adrian leaned back in his chair, his expression serious. "I know, and I take full responsibility for how this is affecting you. But I won't apologize for defending you." Lily sighed, her shoulders slumping. I don't want this to overshadow my work. I've worked so hard to get here." Adrian stood, walking around the desk to stand in front of her. "I understand, Lily, and I'll do whatever it takes to ensure you're judged on your merits, not on baseless assumptions. But I also can't pretend I don't care about you." His words struck a chord, and for the first time, Lily allowed herself to admit how deeply she cared for him too. But the weight of their situation loomed large, leaving her torn between her feelings and her professional ambitions. The tension reached its breaking point one evening when Lily received another note from Adrian. This time, it simply read, "Meet me on the rooftop. We need to talk." Her heart raced as she made her way to the rooftop, the cool evening air brushing against her skin. Adrian was already there, his silhouette outlined against the city lights. He turned as she approached, his expression both determined and vulnerable. "I can't keep doing this," he said, his voice steady but laced with emotion, "pretending that what I feel for you isn't real. I know the risks, Lily, but I also know that you're worth it." Lily's breath caught as she listened to his confession. Every fiber of her being wanted to give in, but the fear of what it might cost her held her back. "Adrian, this isn't just about us," she said, her voice trembling. "If this goes wrong, it could ruin everything, for both of us." Adrian stepped closer, his gaze unwavering. "I've built this company from the ground up, Lily. I've faced challenges, taken risks, and made sacrifices. But I've never been more certain about anything than I am about you. I'm not asking you to risk everything blindly. I'm asking you to trust me." Tears welled in Lily's eyes as she realized the depth of his sincerity. For so long, she had been afraid of failure, of judgment, of losing what she had worked so hard to achieve. But in that moment, she knew that some risks were worth taking. With a shaky breath, she stepped closer, meeting his gaze. "I'm scared, Adrian," she admitted, "but I don't want to let fear dictate my life anymore." Adrian's eyes softened as he reached out, gently cupping her face. "Neither do I." Their kiss was tender, filled with both hesitation and promise. It was a leap of faith, a decision to embrace the uncertainty and the challenges ahead. As they pulled apart, Lily felt a sense of clarity she hadn't expected. Whatever lay ahead, she knew one thing for certain: this was a risk worth taking. In the days that followed, Lily and Adrian's relationship took on a new dynamic. Though they decided to keep their personal connection private for the time being, there was an undeniable shift between them. Their interactions became more natural, filled with quiet understanding and shared glances that spoke volumes. For the first time in a long while, Lily felt as though she was no longer carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders alone. However, the challenges were far from over. The office rumors had not subsided completely, and the pressure of balancing a blossoming romance with their professional responsibilities loomed large. Despite this, Adrian remained steadfast, ensuring that Lily's contributions were recognized on their merit. He went out of his way to create an environment where her work could shine, deflecting any unwarranted scrutiny that came her way. Their nights together became a sanctuary from the chaos. They shared meals in Adrian's penthouse, talked late into the evening about their dreams and fears, and found comfort in each other's presence. Adrian's world, one of luxury and power, slowly intertwined with Lily's, but he was careful to respect her independence. He admired her resilience and knew better than to overshadow her achievements with his influence. One sunny weekend, Adrian surprised Lily with a trip to the countryside. She had grown used to his grand gestures, but was unprepared for the serene beauty of the sprawling fields and the quiet charm of the rustic estate they arrived at. The golden sunlight bathed the landscape, and for the first time in weeks, Lily felt truly at peace. As they walked hand in hand through the meadow, Adrian suddenly stopped. He turned to face her, his expression uncharacteristically nervous. Reaching into his pocket, he pulled out a small velvet box and knelt on one knee. "Lily," he began, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes, "meeting you was a moment that changed my life in ways I never expected. You've reminded me of what it means to take risks, to care deeply, and to embrace life fully. I can't imagine my future without you in it." He opened the box, revealing a stunning ring, a delicate design that reflected her understated elegance. "Will you marry me?" he asked, his voice filled with hope. Lily's breath caught as tears filled her eyes. The weight of their journey, the challenges, the doubts, the fears, flashed through her mind. Yet standing there, looking into Adrian's eyes, she knew her answer. "Yes," she whispered, her voice breaking with emotion. "Yes, Adrian, I will." Adrian stood, slipping the ring onto her finger before pulling her into a deep embrace. The world around them seemed to fade as they held each other, their shared happiness radiating in the golden light. In the weeks that followed, they began to navigate their new reality together. Adrian announced their engagement to the company with a composed yet heartfelt speech, making it clear that their relationship would not affect the professionalism and integrity of their workplace. Though some employees were initially skeptical, Lily's dedication and competence soon silenced any lingering doubts. The whispers eventually faded, replaced by respect for Lily's unwavering determination and Adrian's transparent leadership. Together, they became a team, partners in every sense of the word. Their love story, which had begun on a rainy day in a bustling city, had transformed into something neither of them could have predicted. It was a journey of growth, trust, and courage, proving that even in the most unexpected of circumstances, love could flourish. On their wedding day, surrounded by close friends and colleagues who had become family, Lily and Adrian exchanged vows under a canopy of flowers. As they sealed their union with a kiss, the crowd erupted in applause, celebrating not just their love, but the strength and resilience that had brought them together. Their future was bright, filled with promise and endless possibilities. Together, they knew they could face anything, their love a testament to the power of taking a leap of faith and finding everything they had ever dreamed of waiting on the other side. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the entire story of Lily and Adrian. Their journey is not just a love story, but also a lesson about perseverance, courage, and believing in the good things life has to offer. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave a like to support us. And if you'd love to hear more meaningful, emotional, and captivating stories like this one, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any future videos. Every like, share, and subscription from you is a huge motivation for us to keep creating even better content. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next video.